Have you ever felt like someone you've never met already knows you? Not in a casual way, not in a we must have met before type of recognition, but in a deeper, visceral, almost unnerving sense. Like your soul has been touched, named, summoned without consent. Like you're part of a spiritual equation you never agreed to. This isn't coincidence. This is manifestation, but not the kind bathed in love and light. This is something far more ancient, far more primal. This is the path of the dark chosen one. And I know that phrase alone might stir something inside you. Maybe fear, maybe curiosity, maybe a strange, forbidden thrill. But before you retreat into the safety of your logic, I need you to ask yourself something. What if someone somewhere is not just thinking about you, but is actively shifting reality to bring you into their orbit? What if their shadows are pulling at your edges, rewriting your path, not to harm you but to use you? This is the first hidden sign, an unexplainable energetic pull. A feeling that you are being watched not by eyes but by will. You might wake up thinking of a person you've never met. You might notice synchronicities, like their name showing up again and again in random places, or dreams that feel more like visitations than imagination. These aren't random. You are being pulled, not by a love spell or a TikTok trend, but by a force that understands the ancient mechanics of desire. The Dark Chosen One is a master of magnetism, intensity, focus, and raw spiritual command. They don't chase, they summon. And right now you might be the one they've marked. Let's go deeper. The second hidden sign is the emotional turbulence that has no origin. You've been feeling things that aren't yours. Anxiety that shows up like a storm with no clouds. Waves of desire that confuse you because they're not attached to any real moment. Sudden sadness. Unexplainable longing. These aren't just mood swings. They're spiritual echoes. The Dark Chosen One, when manifesting someone, doesn't just think about them, they feel them into submission. They project their emotions into the field, and if you're sensitive, if your soul is even slightly open, you'll start absorbing them. Have you been crying for no reason? Feeling aroused at the oddest times with no visual or thought to provoke it? That's not you. That's them. And the reason you're feeling it is because your frequencies are being tuned. Think of your spirit like a radio. When someone is manifesting you, they're turning the dial inside your soul, trying to find your station. And once they do, even if only for a moment, the signal begins. It starts with emotions, then thoughts, then dreams, then reality. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like your life was being rerouted? That certain relationships or opportunities were being stripped away from you? Not through chaos, but through precision, like some greater force was clearing the board for something else to enter. That's the third sign, divine disruption. The Dark Chosen One doesn't need to force their way into your life. They simply make room. They do this through intention so sharp, so focused, that the universe begins rearranging events in your life to align you both. It might look like breakups, job changes, losing interest in your passions, or even moving cities. Things that once made sense begin to fall apart. But it's not punishment, it's preparation. We often think of manifestation as this gentle, flowing energy of love and light. But what if I told you that the most powerful manifestations are violent, not in a physical sense, but in the way they disrupt your current timeline? The Dark Chosen One doesn't manifest from hope. They manifest from knowing. They don't wish for you. They decide for you. And while free will always exists, the deeper truth is, most people don't even know their will, let alone use it. So when someone else is using theirs with unwavering focus, they become the dominant creator. The fourth sign is perhaps the most haunting, the dream convergence. This is where things get strange. You start having dreams that feel more real than waking life. You see faces you've never seen before. You feel touched in ways you've never been touched. Sometimes you even wake up with physical sensations, goosebumps, warmth, even the lingering scent of someone who was never there. These dreams aren't yours alone. They are shared. You're entering their astral field. The Dark Chosen One has mastered the art of dream walking, and dreams are the one realm where the veil is thinnest. They visit you there, not always as themselves, but as symbols, wolves, fire, shadowy figures, or even people from your past. Why? Because your subconscious is the gateway to your higher self. And if they can reach that part of you, they can plant seeds, seeds of obsession, seeds of recognition. And here's where it gets even deeper. You might start dreaming of a person you've never seen in real life, but the connection feels ancient. You wake up feeling like you miss someone you've never met. That is not madness. That is memory, soul memory. Because the fifth sign, the rarest and most powerful one, is this: you remember them before you meet them. Your soul recognizes them as if from another life. You don't know how, but you know. You've been here before. You've loved them before. Or perhaps you feared them before. And this recognition is the final lock being clicked open. Because when you remember them, even just a glimpse, the manifestation accelerates. The universe begins to collapse timelines to bring you together. And it's not always for love. Sometimes it's for karma. Sometimes it's to destroy a pattern that has haunted you for lifetimes. Sometimes it's to awaken your own power through friction, through passion, even through betrayal. So now I ask you this: has your life been feeling less like a story you're writing and more like a dream you're waking up inside of? If so, you might not be the one doing the manifesting. You might be the one being called. And the question isn't why me? The question is, what are you meant to become through this connection? We are only just beginning. There are layers upon layers to this truth. But remember this: not all manifestations come wrapped in light. Some come cloaked in mystery, in temptation, in chaos. But they all come with one purpose: to awaken something inside you that was asleep.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
What if I told you that the very pain you've been carrying, those strange aches of the soul, the nights where your heart feels like it's burning for something you can't name, are not symptoms of confusion, but invitations? Not everyone gets chosen. Not everyone gets pulled. So if you're feeling it, this magnetic, inexplicable force dragging you toward a mystery, you need to pause and ask, why you? Why now? Why is a dark chosen one someone with the ability to shape reality through sheer will manifesting you? Look into your life, not the surface. Not the job, the relationships, the routine. Look deeper. Into the moments where you almost broke, the times you felt completely alone, the parts of you you've hidden, even from yourself. That's where the answer lies. Because the Dark Chosen One doesn't choose you for your perfection. They choose you for your fractures, your cracks, your shadows. They don't want the version of you that the world applauds. They want the version of you that bleeds truth. The version of you that is still unfinished. Why? Because they see in you what most people miss: the raw, untapped energy of someone who has survived. And survival is power. Pain is power. Unprocessed emotions are fuel. You are not being summoned for romance. You are being summoned for alchemy. This is not love in the traditional sense. This is transformation. The Dark Chosen One is a mirror, and not the flattering kind. They reflect back everything you've buried. Every old wound you thought was healed. Every desire you told yourself was too dark, too wild, too dangerous. When they enter your life, they don't ask for permission. They ignite. They awaken the sleeping lion in your spirit. And yes, it's terrifying. But it's also the most honest thing you will ever experience. You may begin to question everything. Your values, your beliefs, even your own identity. But this isn't a breakdown. This is a sacred unraveling. Because in order for you to rise, the version of you that was built to survive must die. That's the paradox. You were chosen because your soul is ripe not for peace, but for evolution. And the Dark Chosen One, whether they know it or not, is the catalyst. But be warned, this is not a fairy tale. This is spiritual warfare. When you've been chosen, the universe begins removing everything that can't survive in your next chapter. People start falling away. Old narratives begin to collapse. Your comfort zones become cages. And in the chaos, you will be tempted to run, to blame, to label the other as toxic or manipulative. But the true question is not whether they are light or dark. The true question is, what are they awakening inside of you? Let me be clear. Being chosen does not mean being possessed. You still have power. You still have agency. But your power is only as strong as your awareness. So I ask you, have you been paying attention to the patterns? Have you noticed how certain people trigger you in ways that feel cosmic? How their presence alone can send your nervous system into overdrive? That is not coincidence. That is recognition. You are seeing not just them, but the part of you that has been hidden, the part of you that is ready to rise. So what does it mean for your destiny? Everything. Because once you've been chosen, once your name has been spoken in the silence of someone else's ritual, your life cannot remain the same. You are now walking a path that requires courage, honesty, and a willingness to burn. Burn through illusions. Burn through attachments. Burn through the smallness you once called safety. And maybe, just maybe, the dark chosen one isn't here to destroy you. Maybe they're here to reveal you. There comes a moment, often silent and unnoticed, when curiosity turns into obsession. It doesn't announce itself with thunder. It whispers. It hides behind every thought, every dream, every coincidence that now feels too precise to be random. And if you've been chosen by a dark chosen one, you may already be in the thick of it. Their manifestation of you has crossed a line. It's no longer just energy dancing at the edges of your awareness. It has become a binding, a spiritual tether. And the most haunting part? You might have welcomed it without realizing it. Obsession isn't always unhealthy. In its purest form, its focus, intensity, a desire for full union with something or someone you believe holds the key to your evolution. But when that obsession is engineered, planted, fed through rituals, through thoughts and emotions not your own, it becomes something else. It becomes a spell, not in the Hollywood sense of potions and candles, but in the truest, most ancient sense, a focused command of energy. And that energy is now shaping the way you think, feel, and act. Have you noticed how your thoughts keep returning to them, even when you try to focus elsewhere? How your emotions spiral around their imagined presence, like a fire that won't die no matter how much water you throw. That's not just chemistry, that's spiritual resonance. The dark chosen one has aligned themselves so precisely with your energetic field that your soul is beginning to interpret their presence as part of your own essence. That is the alchemy of obsession. Doesn't feel like control, it feels like truth. And yet, this is the most dangerous phase. Because now the lines between you and them begin to blur. Their desires become your cravings. Their wounds begin to echo inside of you. You may begin to make choices that don't make sense to your logical mind. You might feel pulled toward places, people, or topics you never had interest in before. You may begin to feel that something is missing if they are not near, even if you've never met them in the flesh. That's not romance. That is a spiritual binding silently taking root. But why would they do this? Why would a dark chosen one manifest you with such intensity? The answer is deeper than simple desire. They don't just want companionship. They want reflection. They want power. They want to activate a part of themselves that only your presence can unlock. In spiritual terms, it's called a mirror soul, not quite the same as a twin flame, but deeply connected. You carry a piece of their evolution, and they carry a piece of yours. But here's the twist. While most people use love to bridge that gap, the dark chosen one uses obsession. Because obsession is faster, stronger. And if they're not yet fully healed, it's the only language they know. This is where you must be vigilant. Because even though you were chosen, you are not a prisoner unless you choose to be. The most powerful beings are not those who can manifest others, but those who can recognize when they are being manifested and still choose sovereignty. You have the right to pause, to question, to reclaim your thoughts, to ask, is this love, or is this manipulation dressed in spiritual clothing? Is this fate, or is this just the most seductive lesson I've ever known? And maybe that's what you're here for, not to be claimed, but to wake up, to finally see the difference between spiritual connection and spiritual dependency, between being chosen and being possessed. Because once you see it, you can transmute it. You can take the obsession, the longing, the ache and turn it inward. Use it as a furnace for your own awakening. You can become what they saw in you without needing them to complete it. Because sometimes the reason they manifest you is not to have you, but to ignite you, to awaken the God force within you that even they fear. There comes a sacred moment in every soul's journey, not when we are chosen, but when we choose ourselves. When the spell breaks, when the fog lifts, when the energy that once held us captive becomes the very fire that sets us free. If you've followed this path, if you've felt the pull of the dark chosen one, the obsession, the dreams, the unraveling, then you are now standing at the threshold of power. Not theirs, you. Because here's the truth no one tells you. Being manifested is only the first half of the story. The second half is what you do with the energy. Will you be consumed by it, or will you transmute it into something higher, something divine? That is the real test. That is the real initiation. Let's go deeper than we've ever gone. What if every spiritual binding, every soul entanglement, every moment of spiritual obsession was never about the other person at all? What if they were only a symbol, a key, a spark sent to awaken the part of you that you've buried for lifetimes? The part of you that remembers who you really are beneath the roles, the wounds, the illusions. The part that doesn't need to be chosen because it is the chooser. When you were pulled into this energetic web, it felt like fate, like something outside your control. But now you see it for what it is, a mirror reflecting your desire for depth, transformation, power, and truth. The dark chosen one only found you because you were already calling them on some level. Not consciously, but energetically. Your soul was ready for a confrontation. Not with them, but with yourself. With the version of you that's been hiding from your own greatness. And so now, the power shifts. You're no longer the one being summoned. You are the summoner. You are the one who decides what this connection means, whether it ends in destruction or rebirth, whether it binds you or frees you, whether it becomes a karmic loop or a sacred flame that lights your way forward. So how do you break the spell? Not with anger, not with fear, but with clarity. You begin by seeing the connection for what it truly is. You stop romanticizing the pain. You stop mistaking intensity for destiny. You stop confusing spiritual chemistry with unconditional love. And in that stillness, you begin to hear your own voice again. The voice that was buried beneath their energy. The voice that whispers, you were never incomplete. You were never waiting. You were always the one. And then you choose. Not from fear, not from longing, but from sovereignty. You choose to honor the connection, but not be ruled by it. You choose to extract the wisdom, the lessons, the fire, and leave the chains behind. You choose to become the kind of being who doesn't wait to be chosen because you are too busy creating your own destiny, your own magic, your own path. Because here's the most sacred truth of all. The dark chosen one didn't come to save you. They came to awaken you. And now that you're awake, you realize you were the chosen one all along. So I leave you with this. What will you do with the power that's been awakened inside you? Will you wait for someone to come claim you again? Or will you rise not as someone else's manifestation, but as the architect of your own fate? The spell is broken. The fire is yours now. Use it. Burn bright. And become the one they only dreamed of summoning.